From even the greatest of horrors, irony is seldom absent. Sometimes it enters directly into the composition of the events, while sometimes it relates only to their fortuitous position among persons and places. So that's the first two lines of The Shunned House by H.P. Lovecraft. Wanted to say welcome back to the channel. If you're new or returning, I just read that because it illustrates today's topic perfectly, which is the tragic irony of George Orwell's 1984. So I'll be continuing our discussion on 1984, and in particular, it's, as you can see from all these markings here, right? Each of these is a step in said tragic irony of revealing the totality of the situation to the reader before Winston ever understands it. Of which, let me go on ahead and, before we go any further, see what Google AI has to say about irony, right? What is irony? Irony, the expression of one's meaning by using language that normally signifies the opposite, typically for humorous or emphatic effect, right? Like sarcasm. Sarcasm is a way of saying what you don't mean by saying what you mean by saying what you don't mean, right? So it's speaking, sarcasm is an illustration of a type of irony, just like cynicism has its roots kind of in irony. Another definition: a state of affairs or an event that seems deliberately contrary to what one expects and is often amusing as a result. For instance, in the 90s, Alanis Morissette sort of redefined what irony meant. Something like she took, the dramatic revelation of information in its part and then totality and changed it to something more like meaningful or amusing coincidence, or subjectively derived, right, personally derived synchronistic perception or observation, like 10,000 spoons and all you need is a knife. And it's like Alanis. That just sounds like poor planning. Who said we needed 10,000 spoons and no knives, right? And then she says, it's like meeting the man of your dreams and then his beautiful wife. Again, poor planning, Alanis. So that happened. And then a third definition is a literary technique originally used in Greek tragedy, by which the full significance of a character's words or actions are clear to the audience or reader, although unknown to the character. Now, the funny thing about Winston's world, as Winston observes, is that in his world as well, tragedy belongs to a different age. His world is a tragedy, and it's a tragedy that, for having cameras and eyeballs everywhere, that the world can't see itself for what it really is. It can't understand itself because that's actually how it's been designed, right? Those in power maintain power thereby. It's basically the story of the book. Um, and then within Greek tragedy, for those of you who don't know, because I don't think modern audiences really know this, because modern storytelling is generally more about action, right? What exciting things can happen versus ancient Greek tragedy. It was never about the action. There didn't need to be much, and it could all happen after the fact. It was fine to be told up front what happened because it never mattered what the story was, what you were identifying with, what anyone was identifying with in the art was the pathos, the affect, the feelings of the main character, of the hero, the person living the tragic life, the person, in this case, it's Winston, right? The reader might empathize with Winston's position, even though for all intents and purposes,